welcome to our next segment reading of the Asatru Edda. I am Asgard Skeg, and today's chapter is entitled Sunna, and Sunna is one of the Daesir goddesses. Once Ivaldi had rebelled against the Godin, it was determined that his wife, Sunna, must be procured from her husband's land so she would not fall into the hands of the Jotnar. Almost from her cradle, she displayed such true modesty, and that she had her face perpetually veiled to prevent her fine looks arousing anyone's passions. She was kept apart from others in Ivaldi's house, stayed under very close supervision, and was given two poisonous ormar to rear, intending that the reptiles should act as her protectors when they eventually had grown to full size. No one could easily pry into her bedroom when entry was blocked by such a dangerous barrier. It was decreed that anyone who tried to get in unsuccessfully should at once be decapitated and have his head impaled on a stake. Heimdallr, believing that the more precious an enterprise, the more brilliant it was, and wishing to bring Sunna back among the Godin, declared himself a suitor. He was told to subdue the creatures which kept guard at the girl's room, for now that Ivaldi was dead, it was declared that only their vanquisher should enjoy her embraces. To aggravate their ferocity towards him, he wrapped his body in a pelt wet with blood. Draped in this soon Draped in this, he soon approached the confining doors where, grasping a bar of red-hot steel and a pair of tongs, he thrust it down the armor's gaping throat and laid it lifeless on the floor. Next, as the other armor swept forward in a rippling glide, he destroyed it by hurling his spear straight between the open fangs. Heimdallr brought Sunna back to her father Manni and asked for her hand, but Manni answered that he would only take as his son-in-law the man his daughter had chosen freely and genuinely. As the girl's mother, Sol, was the only one to grudge the suitor's petition, she examined her daughter's heart in an intimate conversation. When the princess warmly praised her wooer's excellence, the mother abused her bitterly, saying she had lost all sense of shame and had been won by baited hooks. She had not formed any proper judgment of his virtue, but gazing his unprincipled mind had been tickled by his enticing appearance. Once Sunna had been prevailed upon to despise the young god, she changed into a man's clothing and from being a highly virtuous maiden began to lead the life of a savage marauder. Many girls of the same persuasion enrolled in her company by the time she chanced to arrive at a spot where a band of Vikingar were mourning the loss of their leader, who had been killed in fighting. Because of her beauty, she was elected their jarl and performed feats beyond a woman's courage. Heimdallr undertook many fatiguing voyages in her pursuit until, during winter, he came across a fleet of Svatofar. At that time of year, the running waters solidified so that a vast pack of ice gripped their vessels, and however strong they rowed, they could make no progress. Since the prolonged cold guaranteed the prisoners a fairly safe footing, Heimdallr ordered his men to test the frozen bite of the sea after putting on brogues. If they dispensed with slippery shoes, he said, they could dash over the icy surface with a better balance. As the Svartalfar supposed they had prepared their heels for a speedy flight, they came in to do battle. However, they could only make a lurching advance, for the smoothness beneath their soles gave their feet an unsteady hold. Since the Danir with Heimdallr were able to move across the icebound deep more securely, They crushed their adversaries who could only totter along. After the victory, they steered towards Finnmark. It so happened that when a party was sent into a narrow gulf to scout, they discovered the harbor occupied by a handful of ships. Sunna had sailed before them with her fleet into the same confined inlet. Immediately, she caught sights of unfamiliar craft in the distance, and with rapid rowing, she shot off to encounter them, judging it wiser to burst on an enemy than lie waiting for him. Though his companions were warning him not to attempt a larger number of vessels with his own, Heimdallr replied how intolerable it would be if anyone reported to Sunna that his purposeful courage was upset by a few boats in his path. It would be wrong to let such a petty circumstance tarnish the fine record of their enterprises. The Danir were filled with astonishment when they found what graceful, shapely limbed opponents they had. When the sea fight had started, young Heimdallr leapt onto Sunna's prow and forced his way to the stern, slaughtering all who resisted him. His comrade, Borgor Jarl, struck off Sunna's helmet, but seeing the smoothness of her chin, realized that they ought not to be fighting with weapons, but with kisses. They should lay down their hard spears and handle their foes more persuasively. Heimdallr was overjoyed when, beyond all expectation, he had presented to him the girl he had sought tirelessly over land and sea despite so many perilous obstacles. He laid hands on her more lovingly and compelled her to change back into feminine clothing. Afterwards, Manni gave Sunna in marriage to Heimdallr Grenr. The god-blithe bedfellow of Glenr will step to her divine sanctuary with brightness. Then the good light of grey-clad Manni shall descend. Thank you for joining us on this short segment reading today. I hope you enjoyed it. Please help support the channel. Hit that thumbs up and subscribe for all of our new content. Thank you again for listening in. We'll see you on the next segment.